The only diamond I own is my husband, my engagement ring, which was back in 1997.
Okay.
And I don't wear it.
Sentimental, though.
Yeah. I said I was going to get it reset, and then I thought, no, I don't. I can't do it. I'm going to give it to the kids one day when or grandchildren or whatever.
And so, does lab diamond interest you?
Well, the thing for I'd probably heard about lab diamonds, if I'm going to be honest, it probably would have been about 6-7 years ago. And I came across it through a conversation with a local jeweller. We were talking about there was a ring in the window, and it was a beautiful diamond ring. And we actually went into the shop to get something else repaired. It wasn't diamonds, it was a necklace. And then I made a comment on the ring. I said, it's such a beautiful ring. And he said, why don't you try it on? I said, look, without sounding too full on, I said, I'm not comfortable with it because of the thing. And he said, well, actually, he said, this particular diamond is sourced ethically. And I said, what do you mean? And then he kind of went into about a company that was doing all this work, making sure that they're mining the diamonds is transferable, transparent, and they were putting back into the land and helping the communities and all the rest of it. And I went, that's interesting. And then he said, and of course there's diamonds that are grown in a lab. And I went, what's that? So I said, is that like a cubic zirconia? He said, well, not really. It's different. And that was kind of that small interaction was thing.
Yeah.
And to be fair, up until I got the email from Sophia about you, I went, wow, like this is actually a great alternative. Like I would wear one of these and proudly wear one of these diamonds. Because after I got that email, I did a lot of research into lab diamonds and essentially what they are, and had a look at some very interesting data on the younger demographics. I think it's now like, and I might be wrong because in my stats, but I think it's over 50% of young people are now more interested
going towards labs,
lab diamonds, and the actual process. And I was listening to actual jewellers talk about the difference between a diamond grown in a lab and a diamond, a natural diamond being mined, in terms of what they look like. To the naked eye, you actually cannot tell the difference.
Well, no, and if you've got something that is along the same lines, the same specs of stone, exactly the same grading, they're exactly the same thing. It's the same chemical composition. It's been made under the same extreme pressure. It's just in a lab. Or taken from the earth. And it's hard to penetrate somebody's train of thought if you haven't done a bit of research, or if you don't already have that seed planted there.
Which is why I think the younger generation are all for it, because
they grasp it.
Well, they haven't grown up with that kind of diamonds are a girl's best friend.
It's conditioning. It's years.
We were conditioned. I don't know how old you are. I'm a lot older than you. But it was that thing of like I remember when my husband bought my ring. Going to work and one of my colleagues going, let me have a look at that diamond.
I know.
How big is it? It's not big enough. It needs to be as big as a cigarette butt. I'm like, are you kidding?
I know.
And it was the bigger the diamond, the more your partner professed their love for you. It was synonymous with that. However, I think this new generation that are coming through, and even people like myself, that I think I stopped wearing my diamond ring about 6 years after we got married, and that was purely because I'd read an article on is it beer? What's the diamond? De Beers. And they were called out on not only how unethical they were in terms of what was happening in their mining processes, but also how they were monopolising diamonds.
They just turned the tap off. That's it. And
I thought, you know what? And then I mean, there wasn't internet back then, but then the movie came out with Leonardo DiCaprio, and I think Blood Diamonds, and that was kind of a true indication of wow, there's so much that we don't know,
So much.
And you know what, who says that, this stone needs to be that valuable? And
Yeah.
how valuable is something on your finger, knowing that someone's lost a limb over it, or there's a civil war going? Because there's so much darkness behind some of
that's it. There's just so much darkness, and there's not a lot of education. There's no transparency, even to consumers. You see something in the window, that's lovely, and you've got your girlfriend saying, show me how big it is. But, is it certified? What even specs on the stone is it? It's a shit stone, maybe. It's just, the whole industry is so murky. So
murky.
Yeah.
And admittedly, after researching just recently, there has been some changes. I mean, it's great to see there's that Kimberley, the Kimberley process now, where there's over 89 countries have come together to put a stop and put a process in line to put a stop of mines producing.
It's not absolute. It's not absolute. It's a tiny little tiptoe forward.
Yeah, conflict to stop conflict diamonds.
Yeah.
And just for the audience that don't know what conflict diamonds are diamonds that have been sourced unethically, and the monies made from those diamonds are going to rebels and disrupting governments and all that. It's particularly in South Africa or East Africa?
It's Africa, West Africa, Central Africa. Yeah. But in saying that, conflict stones, even if you have a certified stone, it doesn't say that the stone is not free from conflict.
No,
it doesn't say that the hands have not passed through a dead man's hands. It just certifies the stone that has come through that has been certified. It doesn't really say it's not free from blood.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not going to name and shame, because
no, we don't do it either.
I don't want to, but I went to a very well-known exclusive jeweller in Melbourne, probably about a couple of years ago. It was my 25th anniversary, and I said to my husband, look, if you're going to buy me a diamond, it needs to be ethically sourced, and it needs to be proven that it's been ethically sourced. Otherwise, I'm not interested in it. And so he went, okay. So we both went to this particular jewellery brand, and the guy came out and he said, oh, no, these are, certificate, and they're not, we will only buy from, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, can you show me? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, it needs to come with a certificate, so I know. And they couldn't provide it, and so I didn't buy it. Still don't have it.
It's impossible, yeah. It's really impossible. A mined diamond, you just can't say. You can't say, because it passes through so many hands.
Yeah.
And there's not just one little lovely rainbow island where people are licking lollipops and extracting diamonds that you can get it from. It's just not, we're tricking ourselves if we think that.
Which is what I love about what you're doing. I think, and if I am going to buy a diamond, it will be one of yours, because after going on your website, I was like,
I was sitting. We've done it so mindfully.
It
because
is.
We're consumers. We're all consumers. We're not people here to take over the world. We're just frustrated people looking for an alternate option and wanting to work with like-minded people that aren't going to pull the wool over our heads. And all of these other brands are just posting really pretty pictures and saying fluffy things and having websites that don't really tell you much. And that's not what it's about. We need to know what's going on. And the younger generation are more educated in the whole deal. People are getting engaged left, right and centre. And it's a big conversation topic. So we're not going to fluff around. It is what it is, and this is what it's not, essentially.
So let's peg it back a little bit. So your first original business was IIXIIST, which was your swimwear company, which is also, I just want to point out, which is also sustainable from start to go. You're 100% ethical. The products get made here, even down to the colour and the dye that you use, right? Which is great, because we love our oceans, and I'm big on that, on making sure that we're mindful of microplastics and look for garments. I haven't been in the beach for ages, and I do have a sustainable I think mine's made from recycled
plastic
bottles. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I can't remember the name of the brand actually, which I apologise. Because I did buy it when it first came out, and it's really cool. It's a one piece because I'm a nonna now. I don't like to show anything anymore.
Cover it up.
I go in the water, get out, and then sit. My kids and my husband always laugh at me, but I was on your website and your stuff is so much cooler than mine. It's so much more fun and sexy and funky. But you've kind of been on this ethical, sustainable trajectory for a little while now as a bit, just to give people context.
Yeah, it was always sustainable, but it just wasn't cool to talk about it 13 years ago.
No.
Because it's sort of like, recycled, what does that mean? Is it used? Is it dirty? You just don't want to market that way. And then something shifted. So it was like, okay, we can talk about it, but we've been doing it since day dot.
Fantastic. So from going from fashion, essentially, really, you've gone now into a completely different, and I did read a little bit about your bio. You have got that entrepreneurial background and you love creating businesses and watching them grow. Right. But you originally, you studied psychology. Is it right in saying forensic psychology?
Yeah, double degree. So just psychology and forensic psychology, very interested in how human beings or the brain or the mind works.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. Unpack that somewhere else.
So you went from that and then you did the swimwear, and now you have the swimwear brand and the diamond brand, the Prestwick Place, that you've founded with your partner, Lachie. Yeah. Which is a football player.
Yeah, do you barrack for Geelong?
Look, you know what? I'm like, my boys are soccer.
Good.
All right, so we're Liverpool. When we go on footy side, I'm Richmond and always have been.
Cool.
And the boys are all Collingwood.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit, I know. I'm the same. It's like, the minute you say Collingwood to me is all I can picture.
grow out of it.
Yeah, all I can picture is people with no teeth. I'm sorry, Collingwood fans.
Me too. Maybe they'll grow out of it.
Yeah, but we do love the Cats, and so it's great. So tell me, how did this eventuate? Because you're obviously frustrated in the market. You guys were looking at, obviously got engaged and you wanted to buy a ring. So tell me the story. Give me the background.
It really just came about a similar kind of situation to you. I had, though I was engaged a long, long time ago, and the ring was worth a lot of money, insured for a lot of money. And I still had that sitting around, and I was clearing things out years ago, maybe 6. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to get rid of that bad energy. So I went back to the same jeweler. I know her personally. I said, look, I know what we paid for it. Just let's get rid of it. So I had a rough indication of what was potentially coming back to me. And she said, look, Beck, I just want to let you know, I know what you paid. I know what it's insured for, but this is the price of what we paid for it, and this is what I can give you today. And I said, you're joking? And she said, no, because XYZ, this is the real cost of a diamond.
Yep.
We sat down. I was sort of like, are you serious, for a few minutes? And she said, yes. And then that just snowballed. I took the ring home, still keep in touch with her today, but it just snowballed from there, because I thought, if we're paying this amount of money, if they're paying that amount of money, they're marking it up to this price, what is actually going on?
If you don't mind me asking, Rebecca, what was the markup? You don't have to tell me disclose the price of the ring, but the markup I'm interested in. And
the markup, 80%.
Wow. That's huge. And then when you went to have a look at it, when she gave you the evaluation, compared to the 80% markup, what in percentage wise, what did you get back? Or what could
I didn't sell it.
You didn't sell it?
No, I didn't sell it.
Okay.
I didn't. It wasn't
worth
that.
it.
It was just a cleansing thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Lachie and I started to talk about getting engaged, and it was a new part of my life, but I still had this seed that was there from that experience. And I knew he's the type of guy that will go to the end of the world for me. Biggest, best, most amazing, won't let me down.
Oh, bless.
But I never wanted him to be in a position where he's getting pounced on by these jewellers. And overpaying or buying something less than. And it's a very overwhelming, intimidating situation for single men that go in with their best friends. That's sort of like the jewelers are salivating looking at these two guys coming in to buy a diamond.
Yeah.
So it started there. I took over the mission, or I just started doing my own research, and I found the moissanite, I found the lab diamond, and it just snowballed because it was like I mustn't be the only one. Same sort of process with IIXIIST, with the bikini that we started with, the way we marketed it. I mustn't have been the only one then, and I wasn't. And the same is true today.
100%. So you found the moissanite. How do you say it? How do you pronounce?
Moissanite.
Yeah. I was actually Googling how to say it properly. YouTube. And we had all these this guy with this French accent saying, I'm like, oh, is that how I'm supposed to say it? I can't say it like that. So you found the moissanite, and you found a jeweler that was going to obviously make you the ring, or is that how it worked?
Yeah, essentially, in a nutshell, I found the stone. I found the lab that I really wanted to go through. It wasn't as easy as this, and then finding a team to craft the pieces essentially was the next step. So it just all went from there.
Wow. Now, just so people know, from a chemistry perspective, the lab-grown diamonds and a natural diamond are basically have the same composition. They're both carbon.
They're exactly the same chemical composition.
Yeah, exactly the same. Now, and just so our audience understands exactly what it is, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the lab-grown diamond is grown under the same intense pressure and heat that would cause the atoms to join.
Yeah, the formation.
To form, which then is extracted in raw form, and then it's polished and cut to whatever shape, size, and what have you. And usually the clarity is of the highest standards in terms of as diamond guys. I'm not the diamond expert, so please don't ask me. I just know, I don't know, something with VSD. I don't know. Leighton probably knows more than me. I just look at it and go, oh, wow, that's really pretty.
Yeah.
Can you?
That's right. You're spot on. So it's either extreme pressure from within the Earth's crust or extreme pressure that has been formed by man in a laboratory. The pressure is the same, the chemical substance is the same, and the outcome is identical.
With only one small difference, though, price points.
Price points
are significantly less for a lab-grown diamond as opposed to a mined diamond.
Yeah.
And also obviously everything is traceable, especially with you guys, the Prestwick Place. Everything's traceable and handled by a human, and no animals are dying, no nature's being destroyed, no children are getting their limbs cut off, and there's no wars and militia taking the money. So
there's no slavery involved.
There's no slavery involved. So it is 100% organically made in a lab.
Organic.
So I think that's amazing, and I've seen your stones, and they come in all shapes and sizes, and they are absolutely remarkably. And I'm not just saying this; they are beautiful. I am going on the record saying I have never bought a diamond other than my husband buying me the diamond ring for our engagement. And after being on your website, I actually said to her, we're going to Brisbane in April. For his birthday, but I'm going to come and visit you in the Gold Coast to buy myself a birthday present. I was sitting there going, this is a diamond I would proudly wear and actually talk about the stories. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing that consumers are now. I think that the mindset has shifted in consumers. We used to be proud to saying, oh, I got my diamond from such and such, and it's this class, and it's 3 carats. And I think now I'd be wearing it with pride, hoping people to ask me and say, wow, that's an amazing diamond, and be able to actually share the story of, hey, you know what? Yeah, it is an amazing diamond, and this is why I wear it.
Yeah.
And I think what you're doing in terms of your business is so much more than just cultivating these beautiful rings. I think you're also re-educating and shifting the mindset.
It's a big part of it, because it's not just, I'm sorry, I'm just shutting the window.
Do you know how funny that, because
I'm in the jungle.
You're in the jungle, and it's like, is she going to pull a snake? Is she going to pull a snake out of there?
Yeah. I don't know how to change this. I'm sorry.
It's working. It's good because it's all sustainable. Organic. It's organic. Yeah.
There is, I don't know where we were going there, but there is a big shift, and it's sort of not, it's less appealing to me now to hear someone say, if I comment on their ring, I got it from so-and-so, oh, is it a lab? And they would say no. Because my heart is just instantly like, it's a complex stone. You're a dickhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly,
100%.
do better.
100%.
It's not impressing me at all.
Yeah. And I think this new generation coming through that are actually interested, that are digging and doing the research, that are going, okay, where's this made? How is it made? That doesn't align with my values. I'm going for the lab grown, and more and more of that. And I can see it in our data here at Casper. Our audience, the demographic of our audience, and what they want to read and see is younger, and it has more substance, and it's a little bit more deeper.
Yeah,
which is what I love. My next question, I guess, is. Obviously, there are jewelers out there that that still do it the old way, and import the mined diamonds and still sell them. And I have heard there is a bit of a conflict here between people, jewelers that buy lab-grown diamonds, and jewelers that only sell mined diamonds, and then there's those that sell both.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this at the moment? Because it's quite interesting, because I'm not a jeweler, I'm not an expert in this field, so I don't really know. But you're now in this industry, and I'm sure you've probably heard a little bit of backlash here and there. What's your stance on this?
I haven't heard backlash from the jewelers that are honest. They're making a jump to labs. The jewelers that are selling mined and labs are doing that. They're in beta stages, essentially, to see what's going faster, what's selling better. So it's a testing period for them. Mm-hmm. And the jewelers that are knocking labs, behind closed doors, I know for certain that they're shitting themselves about what's going on. And I've heard that firsthand from some of them. I've heard that secondhand through people just talking about other jewelers, and it's just gossip. But they're shitting themselves because so much change is happening, and mined diamonds are slightly archaic in a sense with everything that's going on, with all of these technological advancements. And if you don't change, you die.
100%. Yeah.
So,
and more mines are shutting down, I've heard too. In the last 5 years, there's been a lot of mines that have been shut down. There's still a few that are opened. But more and more are shutting down. Is that because, do you think some of them are probably a bit apprehensive about it because, as you said earlier, when you bought when you had your earlier ring, the markup was so high? Is the markup not as high on lab-grown diamonds? Are they afraid that they can't essentially make the most out of a diamond that's mined as opposed to a lab-grown diamond? Because there's
a lab is not as monopolized as a mined diamond. Quite simply, it's they're more accessible and it's more transparent. The process is more transparent, like to buy, to sell, to have, versus a mined diamond.
Makes sense. What are your Now, you've been in the industry for a little while now. What are some of the things that you're really excited about in how the industry is changing and moving when it comes to lab-grown diamonds? And actually, can we just also say that it's not just diamonds that are grown in a lab? There's a lot of...
We do it all.
You know,
ruby, amethyst, the whole thing.
Yeah, a lot of those are grown in a lab, and the process is quite unique. And you, again, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one. I think it starts with a tiny little seedling, then gets put into the machine, and then obviously you wait for it to grow. It reminds me of a chemistry experiment we did when we were little kids.
That's exactly it.
With the blue salts. I don't know if you remember. You'd put this, and then you know, after a couple of days, it'd be this little blue little rock.
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of imagining how it would work. Obviously, under extreme and intense pressure and heat. So there are the stones that are made in a lab. But in terms of the industry, going back to what I was originally going to ask you is, well, what's exciting you at the moment?
Just the shift itself and talking to more like-minded people. It's so refreshing to hear, oh, yes, I've read about this and I love this and this certification is better than this, and just having those conversations and feeling like the message is hitting. Yeah. That's what's exciting, because it's years and years of conditioning and then reprogramming or re-educating or whatever it is, and to be at the forefront of that and having those conversations with people whose minds have changed or opened is the best part about it.
It is. It's exciting.
We're making a change, no matter how big or small it is, for our kids and then their kids, and then that's an impact in itself. So that's incredible.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's great. And, you know, the more open we are to being adaptive, to change, the better humans, the better for us, and the better for our environment, the one thing that we're all kind of fighting for at the moment. What are some of the things that you still want to change? Obviously, we've spoken about the mining and all the darkness of what's happening still. It is a little bit better, but there's still a long way to do. But just initially, like what are some of the things that you want to change right now, if you can?
Look, I just don't want mine diamonds to be around. I want that to stop, honestly, to stop it and to have it be okay that people are not buying mined diamonds, to have that change, to have that stigma change, and for people to think like we're thinking or to sort of think twice about it. That's really it, because when you're stuck with a train of thought that just won't move, how can you change anything? But that's what I really want to see happen.
I think it's happening. It's trickling. Actually, it's probably more than a trickle now. Way more than years ago when I felt like so embarrassed, and people say, "Why don't you wear your diamond ring?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I don't like the way they've been made." And like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking?" And I just like not say anything. Like, I'm not going to talk about this now. Whereas now it's like, now even my sister-in-law won't wear diamond rings. We've had a Frank, and her birthday's coming up, and my brother was like, I want to get her a ring, but I don't know what to get her because she doesn't want to wear diamonds because she's like you. Which is great, which is great. It's really, really good.
Yeah, but it's a safer space now to be more of who you are, or say more of what you want to say, or stand for more.
Yeah. Well, it's a reflection of yourself, isn't it? Because from a personal perspective, we can all jump on the bandwagon of civil rights and human rights and all the rest of it here in Australia, because we do live in a bit of a bubble. But we're completely unaware of how certain industries work. And through education and through talking to people like you that actually pull the blanket off and go, well, hey, I'm going to tell you how this is actually made. It's your choice.
That's the whole thing that we're doing. I'm going to tell you what's good, what's bad, what's the truth, what's not, what the price is, what the specs are. If you don't want it, then don't have it. Go somewhere else. I'm just here to tell you the truth. I'm not here. This was not a business that I started to take over the world, or to I didn't do the numbers before I started it. I thought to myself, I'm not the only one. Something has to change. And that's the end of it. So you don't want the information? Don't read it. Just don't read it. Scroll on.
Yeah, I love it. I love your tenacity, Rebecca. I do. I think that assertiveness. I think and that's the bottom line.
A spade's a spade, and I can't sit here and tell you fluff it up for you, because it's not about pretty pictures and a lovely Instagram grid. It's a bigger thing than that for us, anyway.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to ask you a fluffy question now because I can't help myself.
Okay,
What's your favorite diamond shape and size? Like, what's your perfect? What's the one that I know hands are different, nail beds are different, and all the I get all that, the aesthetics.
Yeah.
But what's the one particular one that you just go, yeah, that's my favorite over and over?
Lachie bought me 2 engagement rings.
Oh, bless
So
him.
I've got an oval and I have an emerald, and they're quite big.
I love it.
I still don't know.
Do you wear them both?
I think, no, I don't. And then he made me a third one with 2 smaller stones, an emerald and an oval, for the days that I don't know which one to wear.
Oh, I love you. Oh, Lachie, we love you.
Yeah.
We're going for the cats now.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Oh.
Yeah, I think oval is very trendy, but I think it is emerald, to be completely honest. Very traditional. Yeah.
Emerald's that classic, isn't it?
Yeah. What is yours?
Look, mine was a princess cut. Okay, so I got married in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a dinosaur. And back in the 90s, there was a jeweler called Paul Brum. And he's located in the city. I still believe he's in the city. And he had this ring that it's a princess cut, and then there was the band had little diamonds around it. But of course, I was a hairdresser and I couldn't afford a dime. I just looked at it and went, oh my God, this is beautiful. I'm never going to be able to afford it. And my husband now at the time, boyfriend said, I really want you to have this ring. So we did what every couple that doesn't have money to do did. We went to the back streets of Little Collins Street, and there was a Greek little jeweler, and I don't know if he's still there. His name was IIXIIST, and we showed him a picture of the ring. I actually went into Paul Brum and tried the ring, and it was absolutely beautiful. And I'm pretty sure the sales lady just looked at me and went, yeah, what do you think? These guys aren't buying anything. So we went to IIXIIST, and he was this short little Greek man sitting in this tiny little shop, and you know the original diamond ring was about a carat, and the big stone was about 1.5 carats, and then he told us how much it would cost, and the clarity, and you know this and that, and it all I got lost in all of that, so needless to say, we went for 0.5 carat at the time, and it wasn't the most beautifully clear stone, but it looked like the one in the window, and I was happy with that, and it was a fraction of the price. And I'm thinking, if I go take my stone to get looked at, it'd probably be worth nothing now.
Sentimental.
It's sentimental. That's why we hold on to it. I look at it now and I think, you know what? It takes us back to our roots and how we started and how hard we worked just to pay it off, and what have you. Which is a shame I don't really wear it because it does have a beautiful story behind it, but it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, you still got it. That's
all that matters.
Yeah.
Before I go, obviously you're a young Aussie, highly intelligent businesswoman, which I absolutely love and adore. And it would be rude for me not to ask yourself and pick that entrepreneurial brain for our young generation of girls that are coming through the blocks that are interested in starting a business or a startup, or want to, you know, whether they want to go into the jewellery industry or the fashion industry or makeup. Like, what are some of your challenges that you've had to face in your business career as a woman?
I don't think, look, it depends on how you want to look at it, because challenges might be sacrificing a social life, which I have given up completely, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Challenges are looking after people, staff, managing that type of thing. I'm okay with that. It's tricky because you've got so many different personalities and you don't know what's what in the beginning, but you get better at it. And I would say just don't give up. It's so easy to give up. It's so easy to just find a husband and just do the thing and whatever. But if you've got that fire in you, just go for it, because it's so satisfying. And then to be able to see your kids see you do that as well is just the best thing in the world.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also going back to what you said earlier about adapting, being a bit fluid and flexible, and know that you're not going to always get it right, and that's okay too. You know,
not going to get it right. I never jumped into either of these businesses trying to make money, trying to have a Rolls Royce and 50 houses and whatever. That I'm blessed and successful, I think, because it really comes from my gut and my heart, and I want all of that so bad. So the intention has to be right behind it as well.
Yeah.
And then it's just happy days.
I think so too. So don't give up.
Don't give up.
Keep working. Be a little bit more, be adaptable if you can.
Yeah.
And make sure you've got a good intention.
Good intention. That's all. It's so easy to get swept up, especially now with social media and trying to keep up and look like everybody else and, you know, do what everyone else is doing. But work.
Yeah, no, I'm all for young people, you know, like carve your own road.
Yeah.
Carve your own road, and it doesn't need to look like my road or your road. It's got to be your own road. And if it's narrow and fine, then that's okay too. You know, and I prefer a narrow road. Narrow road.
It's a long road anyway. It's a long road.
It's a long road. You know, narrow road is good. It cuts out the noise. You know, you get to enjoy step by step. You know, it's good. It's good. And what are some of the rewards in your businesses that you really value in terms of obviously starting your swimwear and now diamonds? What are some of the rewarding moments that you can share with us?
Personally, these conversations, these articles, these podcasts, it's flattering to me that people will spend their time with me and asking these questions, and then the listeners and the readers read that. That's incredible. And then gifts or talents that I've been awarded through the process, like learning how to code or knowing the back end of Shopify or planning things. Like, people go to school for that, but I know it. And I feel lucky to have those abilities that you can't learn the way that I learned, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just
I think that's the best way to learn. Honestly, it is. It might be a little bit harder. My background was hairdressing, and I've changed careers a couple of times, but I still dabble into all the stuff that and I still do a lot of the other stuff that I do. I still cut my son's hair, my mum's hair, because I refuse to go anywhere else. Anyway, well, that's another topic. But you learn all these new skills. In fact, my husband was saying, do you know, he said, you've learnt more new skills in the last 5 years. Like I would employ you because you know more than me now.
So good.
Yeah.
And you're not no one's forcing this upon you. You're doing it as your own self, learning and retaining that information and those skills.
Yeah, it's great.
Artillery.
Well, it's empowering, I think.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. I always say to people, don't be afraid. Who cares if you get it wrong? I got so many things wrong. I mean, ask Leighton. I got something wrong yesterday, which I should have got right. And he'll like, no, how many times do I have to tell you?
Me too. I'm like, be better.
Like, okay, I'll go back and change it.
Yeah. It's life.
And that's okay. It's all part of growth. It's all part of learning. And one last question, because I can't help myself now. It's like in the back of my head. How did you go from forensic psychology to swimwear and diamonds? Because it's so opposite. You know, swimwear, diamonds, I can kind of see, but forensic psychology, it's like I think of, oh my gosh, like
solving Dexter. It was very much that, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But the thing just took off. IIXIIST just worked, and then I deferred the last year or whatever it was of uni, and I said to myself, if it doesn't work, you're coming back. You've got a plan. It doesn't matter. It's just money at the end of the day. It'll figure itself out. Then it worked, and then this is happening, and it's just about being change, and I want to be the change, so I'm just doing it until it doesn't work anymore, and then we'll figure it out.
I love it. That's a good mindset. That is a great mindset.
Well, nothing really matters. Just give it a go, because I'd be so unhappy if I didn't. And I'm doing good things. I'm not here to hurt anyone, or we're not here to rip anyone off. We're just here to try and make a little bit of change in the world for our kids. Yeah. And that's it.
That's amazing. Rebecca, you are a pleasure to talk
Thank
to.
you too.
Thank you. I have.
Hope to see you in April.
Yes, I am so coming in April. Don't worry. You're gonna hook me up with a diamond. Big time. And I am going to be so proud to wear it. So proud, and even prouder now after speaking to you, because you are an absolute beautiful human being, and you not only what you stand for in terms of both your businesses, but really kind of forging the way for younger generations to think and change and progress. And I think that's applaudable, and I'm super, super honoured to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for hosting the show and having the platform for us to do this.
100%. 100%. I hope I can invite you back and we can talk about forensic psychology.
It's boring. But.
No, we can, you can tell us about the mind of these really weird people that do really weird
the
Dexters. Can we talk about the Dexters? What goes on? I'm fascinated. What goes on in someone's head? Why do they do? It's so I know. But thank you again. And if you guys want to jump onto Rebecca's website, we'll have all the details on our platform, so you can head there and have a look at her beautiful diamonds and her beautiful swimwear, and find out yourself the ethics behind the Prestwick Place and IIXIIST. So that's it for today. We'll
Thank you so much.
Cut there, Sorry, 1 second, Rebecca. We'll cut there. And then I'll do the outro. You can have a drink of your
in the jungle.
in the jungle.
It's hot here.
It's hot.